All right, so hashtag metoo. It's been an interesting couple years in our industry, right? Finally, metoo came, solved all the problems, and now women are ecstatic to come to the office every single day, and there's no problems, and everything's solved. Right? Right? Yeah? Everything's good? Well, while it's definitely a different atmosphere, and it's really clear that all the truly egregious behavior is not going to be tolerated anymore. I think that we're, this has been a long time coming, and it's way overdue, so yay, us. And hopefully most of you are looking around your agencies and thinking, our people are pretty nice. There's no major assholes, there's no people supporting major assholes, or a lot of overt weirdness. There's no predators, there's no people supporting predators, and no one's making people cry on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis. This is basically my first job, probably once a week, except I didn't have the expensive bottle of wine because I couldn't afford it. Because basically, I still have conversation after conversation with women who are annoyed. It's not necessarily go to HR level annoyed, but it might be vent on fishbowl annoyed, which is, we never want to see our agency names come up on fishbowl. A lot of these women feel like they're standing on the outside. They're frustrated because they're not feeling seen or heard. They're getting fatigued from living in bro culture. Or just from struggling to try to be a mom at the same time that they're being great in our business. So, because I think the reality is just because you're not being awful to women doesn't mean you're being awesome to women, being an awesome place to work for women. So what are the answers? I don't have all the answers. So I thought the first place to do would start talking to some of my friends and coworkers. I crowdsourced to about 20 different women, mostly creatives, but a lot of production, account, and strategy people in there as well, and asking them, what would they like everybody to know that we should be watching out for? What could we be doing better? I think a lot of the answers I got back were really similar. There were just a few main themes, and none of them were that surprising, which I think is really the most concerning, because a lot of these things were about the basics. We're still struggling to get the basics down. And that's all of us. It's not just the men, that's the women. A lot of the things I'm going to be talking about are things that I've been guilty of from time to time. So this is going to be a little bit of a primer. So I boiled them down to the 8 main themes that I heard. There's a lot more themes, and I'd love to kind of talk about those if we have time at the end. But this is kind of a primer of the kind of how to not suck 101. And first off is this thought that it can be weird getting to know you. If you're a woman, especially a younger woman creative who might not know you as you're a boss, going out for a drink, being asked for a drink, asking them for a drink after work, it's a little bit of a gray area. You're not sure how it's going to be construed, and you're not going to be sure if you're asking them how they're going to construe it. And it's a bummer because, when men go out and get a beer after work with their bosses and things like that, it's totally cool and natural. You're bonding and you're building your support system and getting to know each other on a deeper level. But unfortunately, if you're not having these moments, you're not getting the benefit of those connections that we grow our careers from. So kind of first step is, try to open the door for easy ways for women to bond with you. Start talking about work at work. It says to younger women, I see you, I like you, I want you to do better. And then if things go well, then it'll be a lot more comfortable to go and get a beer after work. Next up is don't expect them to be one of the boys unless they want to be one of the boys, even if they are a boy or if they're a them. Previous generations of female creatives, like myself, to survive just kind of had to be one of the boys. That you either learned how to do that or you probably left the industry. But the younger people in advertising now, they don't just hope to be allowed to be themselves, they expect to be able to be themselves. And there's a lot of really talented people, so we want them to feel comfortable in our agencies. So, I think first off, just try to resist the temptation to gravitate to people that are most like ourselves. We all do it. It's the most natural thing in the world. But don't just embrace different voices. Go out and find them. Be open to different communication styles and celebrate them. More different really does mean more better. More better work, more better insights, all that, more better perspectives. So, and while we're on this, I'm going to kind of sidebar too that let's also look for people that look all sorts of different ways. In our industry, we talk a lot about adding diversity. Then again, we want that diversity to kind of come in an expected package. This has always been a problem for women creatives since day one. But as far as I know, we're all being paid to be amazing creative problem solvers, not necessarily fulfill somebody's workplace fantasy. So please keep your eye out for, don't turn your back just because somebody doesn't look the way you expect traditional advertising creatives to look, or anybody in advertising to look, because then you're going to be missing out on a lot of amazing talent. Don't make women the draft horses. A lot of women I talk to are very adamant about this, because a lot of the hard accounts, we tend to put women on them because women just, we sort shit out and we get shit done. But then, it's kind of a vicious circle, because when you're figuring stuff out on hard accounts, you're not always making the very, very best work, and then we wonder why these women, that are solving all these big problems for us don't have the best work to show. I've heard this at a couple conferences, which it's kind of alarming. It's this idea that don't get shit done because then you'll get shit to get done. And what's alarming about this is it's saying that we need to be careful not to be always delivering because we might get taken advantage of. And this is a bummer that this is a kind of caveat we all need to kind of put into our lives. So I think what we can do is to expect the same level of figuring stuff out from everybody in the department. Dole out the dogs to everyone. Everyone should be able to solve the hard problems. This is just fairness, straight up. But I do want to do a little side note to the women too, look out for some of the interesting dogs. Some of these things that look like they're dogs might actually be incredible opportunities. Looks a lot better when you've done incredible work on a really hard brand than one of the really cool brands. Get your hearing checked. So you'd be shocked at how often women throw out ideas that no one seems to hear until it comes out of someone else's mouth. And seriously, I heard this again and again and again, so it must be a huge problem. Maybe it's the register of our voices. I don't know. For some reason, people aren't hearing us. But the solution is not necessarily getting them to be more dominant. The world doesn't need more people trying to dominate meetings. We have enough people talking loud and enough in meetings. But we also don't want our best thinkers lost in the corners. So what you can do is be somebody's buddy. Acknowledge where great ideas came from. You can't name check too often or too early. And if you find yourself being a person who are throwing out ideas in rooms and they're not getting acknowledged, also be honest with yourself that maybe people are hearing your ideas, they're just not liking your ideas, and you might be working for somebody that has a management style that doesn't enable them to be open and honest with you about it, which is a bummer for them, and it's a bummer for you because you don't know what they don't like about that idea. But if this happens again and again, you might want to kind of take your boss or coworkers aside and go, are you not liking my ideas, or are you not hearing my ideas? So this is all about presenting. So sort of this charming man. I think we all know that guy, that super confident, super charismatic guy that we have in most agencies, who we love to put in front of clients. They're incredible presenters. They usually tell a lot of stories, sometimes really slowly because everybody hangs on every single word they say. It's a total gift. I do not have this gift. I tend to talk really fast because I assume people are going to try to cut in and step over what I'm saying. But these charismatic people rise up faster in the ranks because they get more time with the clients. They get more practice. And when you have a female team and a male team, I've seen it again and again, we tend to put a guy, if he's a really great presenter, up there more than the woman. So if you find that you have women that you're not putting up there to present very much, you need to go to herself and find out what she's doing wrong. If it's because a dude's a better presenter than her, let her know she needs to learn to present better. And help work with her on her presentation skills, and it might be helping her develop her own personal style. She might not be that Don Draper, sort of super smooth delivery, but that doesn't mean she can't be an amazing presenter, and also start getting that practice. And why we should do this is, when you show up like a well-rounded, diverse team and new business in front of clients, clients heart that. So make sure all your smart, amazing people are getting the opportunity to talk and getting the opportunity to get face time. So this came up again and again with younger creatives, is they're looking for touchstones. They've got loads of stuff they want to talk about, vent about, ask questions about. And so, but going to your boss is a little scary sometimes. You might be more intimidating than you think. And we all know that our leaders are kind of thin on time, and they don't get the opportunity to be there for you on a deeper level as much as they might like to be. So one of the suggestions is to be a mentor matchmaker. At your agency, try to give everybody an official person that's maybe one click up from them, somebody that can be an advisor on how to navigate the agency, how to do their job, if they've got something they want to vent about. And I think this is also a really good way for when there are real problems that management might need to know about. That's a good way to kind of get that into the system and elevate that up. And it just gives somebody, it's like a buddy system. People always love that. So HR people, cover your ears now. This is a little bit of a touchy subject. Management, you can talk with us about our pregnancies or adoptions or surrogacy situations. Navigating pregnancies in an agency is a really huge management issue. We are a business and there's a lot to work around. But our industry is sometimes really awkward and scared to talk with women about their pregnancies. You think we had some horrible illness or something like that. So let's start with some basic conversations like humans. How would you like your workload to feel? When will you dial back? How should your leave go down? How quickly do you want to take on a full schedule? How is it going? Not every woman is the same. Not every pregnancy is the same. So it's really important that you ask these questions so that she knows that you're taking her as a person into consideration and helping her to find a path that's best for her. She's a grown-ass woman. She's having a baby after all. Please include her in conversations about her. This is a big one. This is, love your moms. Try to be flexible with the moms in your agency. This isn't just if you're a manager. This is if you're a coworker. More often than not, moms are juggling a ton of stuff. It's inevitable that a bit of shade gets thrown to them by coworkers, usually non-parents, but sometimes by parents that have somebody else to help pick up the slack at home when they have to go to doctor's appointments or they have to leave early to pick up their kids. This makes a no-win situation for them. They want to do an amazing job, but they also have to take care of their family. Inevitably they get back on email at night and pick up the slack. And I have to be honest, this was something I saw way more as an issue when I worked in New York than when I worked in Minneapolis, which is much more parent-friendly. So there's just absolutely no understanding also of how difficult it can be for women who are going on productions or traveling for business meetings. Our industry is still set up over the kind of template that it was 30 years ago, and I don't think we've really addressed yet or acknowledged how difficult this is when our people need to travel for work. And just also another side note on this one is lactation schedules are no joke. If somebody says they need to be somewhere, please don't question them where they need to be. They probably are trying, there probably is somewhere that they need to be. And just assume, that they're doing what they need to do because women get shit done. So try to be flexible. The perspectives they bring is totally worth it. So, key takeaways. Little things make a huge difference. There are a few things to keep in mind, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. If we have a little time, if any of you have any suggestions you'd like to add to it, I'd love to hear them. I'd like to write these up and kind of share a more exhaustive list out with everybody. It's basically keeping your eyes open every day and honestly caring enough about your employees and coworkers to constantly look for new ways to make our industry better. So in a nutshell, find ways to get closer to creatives that don't involve drinks. Don't just be open to different kinds of people, seek them out. Don't make women do all the heavy lifting. Listen and give credit. Give everyone the chance to present. Make sure they have a buddy. Pregnancy isn't a dirty word. And support your moms. So, this is my new email at my new job. If you guys have anything you'd like to share or add to this list, please email me here. I will find a way to kind of put together everybody's answers and put these things out. I think everybody's really eager to find what new ways to make life awesome in our industry are for women. We just need to talk about it more. Go back. There? All right. Cool. Oh, yeah, wait. There? There we go. I'll leave it there. Cool, so I think we have a couple minutes. Does anything come to mind that anybody thought of? that they'd love to add to this list while we're here?
So I'm not a mother. I'm not a mom, but I'm part of this women's group that I just, thanks. I'm not a mom, but I just at this women's group that was, it's like I think I'm the only one in the women's group that isn't a mom or pregnant. And so obviously it's become a big support system for each other of like kind of going on maternity leave and like how to support each other and just advice in that time. And to your point of being a buddy, I just thought it was really interesting of like being a buddy to somebody that's gone through something similar that you're about to go through, or they're about to go through. I just saw this woman was freaking out. She was nervous. Like, is the woman that's going to be taking a bunch of my responsibilities when I'm out going to be better at my job than I am? And when I come back, they're not going to want me back. Like, so it was really cool to see that kind of interaction happen and the support from one woman to another, just going through something that like you can't just turn to every single person that you're around and ask advice for. So like you said, like keeping an eye out for those things, I just thought was cool.
It might be cool even to do like formalized like mom mentor sort of thing, like somebody that's, because you forget all of it so fast too, and it's like even if somebody's like 6 months ahead of you. When I was at my last agency, Cole McVoy, we would do with the creatives, we would do these kind of like badass mom lunches, and a lot of the stuff would come out of how to handle this stuff, and how to, especially going on productions and things like that. That's a really tricky one to make sure you're doing a great job and make sure your family's taken care of.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. My name is Sabrina Hart, and one that I think is important, I'm not a parent either, is prioritizing yourself, because as I watched and observed my mother, you know, over time having so many children, she forgot to love herself and make time for self-care and self-recovery. And so I feel like that's really important, to love yourself and find the time to really invest into your own mental and physical health.
I feel like we should all have that like written in the mirror to like remind ourselves of every day, because it's like the first thing that falls off the table, and it is one of the most important things you can do. Anybody else have a suggestion? Anything they want to talk about?
Hi, I work here in Chicago, a place called Optimist. My name is John.
Hi.
We have a few women that are recently pregnant there, but they'll still be working there for a few months. And I'm just wondering, not for myself, I'm asking for behalf of the other men at the company. Is it appropriate or is it inappropriate to ask them if they do need help, or to ask them about it, or is that something more that we should ask our supervisor and let them handle the situation? Because there's not really like a written handbook even or anything that tells us how.
And it is such a tricky situation, and I think it's like, are you friends with them? Are you close coworkers? And I think it's like, just start the kind of tease your way into the conversation and see. They might be dying to talk about it, but I think you'll get really clearly too if it's like, this is kind of an off-limits conversation. But I did hear from a lot of women that they were kind of bummed out that we didn't kind of talk more with them about, you know, and I kind of felt the same way, honestly, that I would have loved when I was expecting my son. Nobody wanted to talk about it.
Thank you.
Just in response to that. So I don't have any pregnant friends or coworkers, but I mean, friends at work that are coworkers, but I do have a pregnant friend outside of work. And I just feel like in general, even if you're not like super close with them, or you're not friends, or if you're just working with them for the first time on a project and maybe start chatting a little bit, I feel like it should be totally fine if you just ask them like, hey, how you doing? You know, I feel like that's like a really normal question to ask someone, like, how are you feeling? Like, how's it going? I feel like that is normal and no one should be offended by that question.
Well, I think especially if you're talking about at work, like talking about work things, because it's like, what do you want this to be? You know, because I think everybody's assuming that there's a standard template of how maternity leave goes down and how coming back goes down. And the reality is it rolls out a lot of different ways. So the more you can talk about and ask them what they want that to be, the less awkward they'll feel about kind of deviating a little bit from the standard.
Well, it's like really awkward to just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's like literally an elephant in the room. Like,
Yeah.
no one talks about, but it's like
It's a totally natural part of life, and yeah.
Hi, my name's Nancy. I lead a agency and office here in Chicago of about 100, 120 people. And I do have kids. I have 3 kids, so I've been through this already many times. And I guess my message is actually for the leaders in the room, whether you have kids or don't have kids. If you have seniority in your organization, I would encourage you to be the voice and the champion for all those younger women who don't have the voice. And so I'm new, about a year to my organization, and the first thing that I tried to do was get to know everybody. And they would express their frustrations. They knew I had kids, and they just needed somebody with an ear who could help champion their cause. So now we're starting parent groups, and we're starting to do make some really positive change. So what I would say is, I don't think anybody intends to be an asshole about people having kids. I just think if you don't, and you're senior, you may not really take the time to think about the fact that you can be that person and that positive force for change within the organization. So my message is to all the leaders to be that voice.
And I think a lot of our leaders have also a lot of them have older kids and have forgotten, I think, what those realities are. I mean, it's easy once you get past that little window to forget like how tough that is.
I would just piggyback off that. I'm as a mother too, and I am younger, and like I have a 2-year-old, and I look around and none of the leadership in my office are moms. Like we've got dads have older kids, but I think the unique load that a mom bears, I know at any given time, is my dishwasher clean or dirty? And when was the last time I took a bath? And I need to finish this brief. Like all these different things that are floating around in my head. And so I think maybe just also looking around at your leadership and seeing, are there any moms? And if there isn't, how do we make sure that moms have a voice of credibility in this space?
Love that. We've got one over there.
I think for men in the room too, if you become a father, taking paternity leave, leaving work early to pick up the kids, it makes such a huge difference when people realize it's not just moms who have these problems, children.
I think what's awesome too is a lot of men are now, taking on more of the roles is kind of more of a primary caregiver. It's not just all on the moms, which is great because I think you're right. It's like all of a sudden when I love when men are taking care of their kids and they call it babysitting. It's like no, that's just your kid. We've got in the glasses back there. That's awesome. I mean, totally personally, I could never, all my examples when I was coming up as creatives were men who, if they had children, they usually had a wife that stayed at home to help take care of the kids. So I just could never quite imagine how I was gonna do it and keep earning a living and doing my job. And honestly, not until my late 30s that I could even start thinking about having a kid. And that's a bummer. That's a bummer that I didn't have the example to kind of show how that could get done. So I love that especially a lot of millennials are having kids younger and they're setting a really great example. Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah. Anybody else in here? I think we're about out of time. Yes? Oh, yep, they're shutting us down. Thanks so much. Sounds like everybody's got a lot of good thoughts. So please email me any of these things and I'll publish these things out. Thanks a lot.